Hi, it's September 29th, 2016, and the countdown to Pink October is well underway. For those of you that don't know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so starting October 1st and for the entire month, we start seeing the swarms of pink ribbons on all the packaging and the clothing, and this just very intense pink washing campaign. I like to call it Pinktober because it's a time for those of us that are metastatic that sort of reminds us of the path that we've been on and how little research and education has actually gone out to address metastatic cancer. It's important to know that metastatic cancer is truly the only cancer that kills. Susan Komen died. She died of metastatic breast cancer. So you would think that Komen, who is the one that started the whole pink ribbon campaign and brands absolutely everything under the sun, you would think that they would be focused on money and sending research dollars and education around metastatic breast cancer, but in actuality they really do not. They've significantly lacked in that. And so for those of us that are metastatic, October serves as a time for us to come together in solidarity, and there's several different campaigns out there, hashtags and the voice that women try to raise to educate people about what it's like to live with metastatic cancer. I'll tell you a little story. About 3 years ago, maybe 4, Joan London got breast cancer, and we saw her beautiful bald head all over magazines, and her pictures were all over the place, and people were just lamenting and so proud of her, of how courageous she was to come out and show off her beautiful, perfectly round bald head. And the show that she hosts, I think it was the Today Show, I'm not exactly sure, so forgive me, I don't know, I don't watch TV, but the show that she hosts did a campaign where they invited breast cancer survivors who were still in treatment to come out and represent, and they were going to air them as a group on the show, but they specifically stipulated in their invitation that they wanted bald women only. Well, for those of us lifers, as you can see, I have hair. It created a big uproar because we're the women that are out here that are dying. I've been in treatment literally 13 years. I've lost my hair, completely lost my hair. Eyebrows, eyelashes too, 3 different times. And I'm still in treatment. I still do chemotherapy every 3 weeks, but the kind of chemotherapy that I get doesn't make me lose my hair. And that's the case for most of us who are lifers, who are in treatment for life, is we're not on the kinds of drugs that make us lose our hair. So to put out an invitation to breast cancer survivors and to stipulate only bald women, you can imagine it created a huge uproar in the metastatic community, because we are the women that are out here still struggling with this disease. We don't get to ring that bell at the end of the last treatment because there is no last treatment for us. We don't get to say that we're done, that we kicked cancer's ass, because we are in this for life until it eventually claims our lives. And so to exclude us out of that group is just another example of how we've been excluded out of the group. So another reason why we don't like Pinktober is because, you know, every time we go in the store and we see that pink ribbon on the Yoplait yogurt, we know that that has done nothing for us. All this money, all this fundraising, all this education hasn't done anything for the metastatic cancer survivor. Komen has put historically such a small amount of funding into research on metastatic cancer. It's insane. You know, it's the only cancer that kills. So to not be putting the funding there is insulting. It's just another way that we're left out of the conversation. And so while my girlfriends are dying, and I'm talking about young women with children, wives, sisters, daughters, while we're out here dying and we're in this fight, nobody's speaking for us, nobody's funding the research to save our lives. And so to us, October has become just a giant gag fest, a farce, a big farce. And I can say not only on the level of research and the lack of money that's being actually spent, The financial devastation of cancer is huge. I have a master's degree. I was a career professional on a salaried position. I got cancer in 2003 and I worked all the way through. You know, of course I took off to recover from surgery and this type of thing, but I worked full-time all the way through. When I had my metastatic recurrence, I had to quit working. And so we lost half of our income. The devastation is huge. We had to file bankruptcy. I lost my house. I lost my health insurance. I could go on and on about the difficulties. And I had 3 kids under my roof. My daughter, who worked so hard through school, graduated with a 4.5 at the top of her class, and she got accepted into UCLA, but she didn't get a single dime of scholarship money, and I didn't have the money to pay. So the only way she could get through school was working through school as she was going through school. The UCLA, very academically rigorous program. And while none of her peers were having to work, all their parents were, you know, completely paying their tuition, and here's my daughter having to work through school and also take loans. I mean, she was straddled with such huge student loans. I myself, because I was only 30 years old, was still in the process of paying off my student loans. The thing about it is a lot of these organizations, they're branding their things with these pink ribbons, and that money is never seeing the light of day. They're just using it as a marketing tool. They're sort of jumping on the pink bandwagon to play on people's sympathies. And so I always tell people, think before you pink. Realize, you know, where that money's actually going. And you might buy a product, you might buy that Yoplait yogurt with that pink ribbon on it and not really care one way or another. But if you're intentionally buying a product because that has a pink ribbon on it and that one doesn't, think before you pink, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you buying that product, that a single penny of that is actually going to anything that matters. So I just invite you to consider, as October comes upon us and you start seeing all the campaigning for the pink ribbons and the education, to think before you pink and realize where your money's going. And if you really have a heart for breast cancer survivors, ask yourself, who's in the most need and how can I help? Don't just blindly hand over your dollars. The other piece I want to say while I have your ear and we're talking about breast cancer's education is inflammatory breast cancer. I was diagnosed, like I said, stage 3C inflammatory breast cancer. My insurance company wouldn't pay for a mammogram because, you know what? I didn't have a lump. And they said, 30 years old, no lump, no family history, why are we sending her for a mammogram? So my doctor said, okay, let's go for an ultrasound. So they sent me for an ultrasound. I had walnut-sized lymph nodes in my armpit that were full of cancer. One look at the ultrasound and they said, something serious is going on because your lymph nodes are way larger than they should be. So we're gonna call right now and get a mammogram. So they called my insurance company and said, hey, here's what's going on. We need the mammogram. And my insurance company said, okay, do it. Well, you know what? That mammogram was completely clear. It showed nothing, no lump, no calcifications, nothing. Welcome to inflammatory breast cancer. Nobody told me that I could have an aggressive breast cancer and never have a lump. You know, I've gone around to a lot of different events and different tables where people are handing out literature and talking about breast cancer awareness, and they're telling women about self-exam, and I stop and I'll ask them, you know, do you know anything about inflammatory breast cancer? 99% of the time they have not even heard of it, as I did not. So if we're spending all this money on education, educating women about the importance of self-exam and early detection, which by the way is a lie. That is a straight up lie that women have been taught, that if they catch it early that their chances of survival are more. It isn't true, because you know what? It comes back. The cancer comes back. So early detection is not a cure. And inflammatory breast cancer, know what the signs are and understand that doing your self-exam does not protect you. Early detection does not protect. I was stage 3C. Inflammatory breast cancer right out the gate, the moment you're diagnosed, you're going to at least be stage 3B, because by the time you have symptoms, you're already at that stage. And there, for me, like I said, there was no lump. So know what the symptoms are. Look it up and Google it. And so just be aware. So when October comes, we like to try to raise awareness about our issue and try to paint the picture of what metastatic, the killing kind of breast cancer, looks like. So hi, I'm Amy Shaw. I'm a 13-year survivor, 10 years metastatic. So thanks for your time, and spread the message.